Hello, hello, everyone.
Hello. What is up, guys?
Thanks for stopping by. We appreciate it. We are
You
the.
turned my music off. Dang it.
I did turn your
Nice.
music off. I'm very sorry about that. Yeah, shout out to Billy Mays, also known as Infinite Third, for our amazing stream music. He's
Heck yes. Some good stuff.
amazing streamer too. If anybody in here has not watched him Fridays, he's calling it Friday Night Church, and it's fantastic. Definitely check it out. But yeah, welcome everybody. We are very glad you're here. And I thought of a question that I want to ask today. Kirk, do you have a
Look at
movie
that question.
that you go back to over and over again and have watched a billion times, but you still love it?
Hmm.
I like to call them the feel good movies. The
Huh.
ones that
Feel good
it doesn't
movie.
have to be a Hallmark movie, but it's a
Okay.
movie
So
that
I,
makes you
I
feel good.
I got one that came to mind. It's not that old though. So is that okay?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be
All
old.
right. I think that mine is The Greatest Showman.
Oh, okay.
I love that
Ooh,
movie and I
Ferris
love the
Bueller in the
songs.
chat. Ferris Bueller's a great one. Do you know all the
Yeah, that is a good
songs?
one.
Do you know all the songs in The Greatest Showman now?
I know a lot of them.
Could
I
you
know
break
most of
one
them.
out right now?
No,
No, dang
I'm
it.
not doing
I wanted to try at least.
that. But yeah, it's just I don't know. It's a movie about perseverance, and I like that. I like movies like that.
I know it probably doesn't count because it's like 40 hours long, but
Vlado, what is up, brother?
Vlado, how's it going, buddy?
We need to talk about you being on this
Yes.
sometime soon.
Vlado, we definitely want to have you guest host. For everybody who doesn't know Vlado, which is I would assume most of the people in our chat, he has a show in Australia called It's Not Rocket Surgery, where I believe they're
Great
on the
show.
radio. They're on the radio as well, but each week they're breaking down like tech topics, and it's funny and it's amazing. So definitely check that out as well. I'll have to see
But
if
yeah,
I can find it.
we're having Paul from Varmints on here soon. Keith is on the back burner because he's been on the show before, but we're gonna have Keith on as well. And then we would love to have some more representation, specifically Podfix related. And you are always somebody we wanted to have on the show. It's
Mm-hmm.
just a matter of trying to figure out timing.
Yeah,
uh, but now that we're doing it on Saturdays, I think it might work a little better.
yeah, because
We'll
we can
see.
move it
We'll
around,
see.
fit your schedule. But yeah, we'll get in
But we'll
touch
do
on
it to
that.
fit your schedule. Yeah, we'll get in touch with you on that. We'll talk about that
Yeah,
off stream.
but yeah, no, mine would probably be the movie that I've probably watched the most ever is Lord of the Rings. So I
Mm.
realize that's three movies, but The Lord of the Rings is one that I've watched lots of times. I never get bored of it. I've watched the extended gigantic edition multiple times.
Yeah, I don't know if I've gotten bored of Lord of the Rings either. The first one sometimes, you know,
I feel like it's like
there's
the
its
first Star
points.
Wars. That's the one that you always watch. And so sometimes you don't get through the whole trilogy. So the first one is like the one you're most familiar with.
Yes, yes, 1000% for sure.
But yeah, in general, that's a that's definitely one of mine that I'm always down to watch. It's about time for a rewatch.
Yeah, I still have not gotten my kids to watch all the way through it. I think we got three-quarters of the way through the second movie. I was like, you don't get it. It's just about to get nuts.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't get him, Mason in particular, to get into it. I don't
Mm.
know.
Well, all right. Are you ready to talk about a podcast?
I am ready to talk about a podcast.
Let me go ahead and hit record here so I can do my micro adjustments I have to do every week.
It always messes with the frames, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Actually, it seems to be working slightly better now, but
It feels like the camera is so zoomed in on my face. Like if I like sit down too much, I'm gonna like not be in frame.
it
Which isn't on
is
you. I think it's my camera.
no, and it is kind of on me too because like I had to like pick a frame for you. You know what I mean? And it was like kind of weird to
If I
work
were to
out.
zoom my camera out, would it still? It wouldn't affect your frame stuff, would it?
I don't think so. I mean, you can
Let me
try it. We'll
try it.
find out live. Everybody,
Yeah.
we all get to explore this together. By the
Yeah.
way, Kirk, I love the rave light you've put in the room. It actually is a lot better. Yeah,
All right.
looks good.
Yep. Yeah, no, that's just a weird light that you're able to program, but you're supposed to like download an app or something to be able to do it. I never downloaded the app, so it just does that.
So it just does party time.
It just does. I guess the default is
Party time. No, that's what these
Download
are.
party
I got
time in
these are
here.
like smart lights.
Yeah, that's what that is. It's a smart light, but I plugged it in. I mean, I screwed it in and pressed go, and I never got the app to put a specific color, so now it just acts like a weird siren. It's the party siren.
Yeah, a rave siren.
Well, all right.
My notes
A little
here.
bit of housekeeping. Last week, we did all of the ad reads live on the show. Didn't feel great doing them that way. So this time we pre-recorded the ad reads, and you guys don't have to worry about it. So you guys get
You don't have to hear it.
you get the ad-free version, and you don't got to pay anything. Great job,
VIP.
VIPs. No, but we are thankful for our sponsors that help make this show not cost us a bunch of money, but actually make us a tiny little bitty baby bit of money so that we could make t-shirts and stickers. We need to give some more stickers away. If you guys are in the chat and you're in the US and you want some stickers, let us know. We'd love to send you some stickers. Kilnack, you don't count. You already have stickers and a t-shirt.
We can send him another sticker if he wants one.
Yeah, I would send him another sticker. All right, we recording yet?
We are recording. We're at 3 minutes probably by the time you start. So you could put like 3:30ish probably for start time.
All right, let's get this going. We're doing PDFs first. Let's do this. Welcome to the Podcast Discovery Show, the podcast that's about other podcasts, where every single week we have a book club style discussion about a podcast that we recommended at the end of last week. And at the end of this episode, we're going to have a brand new episode for you to listen to, and we're going to talk about that one next week. I'm Kirk.
And I am Zach. And this week we're talking about a show called Understood. And the specific episode we're talking about is about something that people probably saw a lot of fairly recently. I think they said it was July. It is called Closing the Loop on China's Mystery Seeds. So in general, what you might have heard of is that people are getting random seeds in the mail and they didn't order them, or sometimes we did find out sometimes they did order them.
It's an interest. Anyway, there's these seeds showing up on people's doorsteps, specifically from China. And the question is why? And are these like to be used? Are they not to be used? Is this some sort of weird eco-terrorism? What the heck is this? And I had not personally heard about this at all until listening to this episode. And it really fascinated me.
Yeah, it's a pretty awesome episode to kind of dig into. It almost feels like, in a way, true crime or like investigative journalism. It reminded me of like the type of show Reply All is, and that's why I know how much you like Reply All. And so I was like, I think this is kind of a perfect thing to introduce them to. So yeah, each week there is a team over at Understood consisting of Billy Disney, Adrienne Jeffries, Regina DeLea. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. And John Lagomarsino. Did you hear how that one was pronounced? John Lagomarsino. I'm sorry.
I don't think they said anybody's last names. In fact, they didn't even introduce themselves in that specific episode. I had to like go to their website to get everybody's names.
They just dug in. So
they would refer to each other every now and then, be like Adrian or Billy or whatever, you know. But they didn't.
So really sorry if we mispronounced your name. It was an unintentional.
But they've worked at a bunch of pretty big media companies like The Verge, Vox Media, and a bunch of other ones that were fairly big media companies. So these guys and gals are in the know, and when it comes to investigative journalism kind of stuff.
Yeah, and so apparently what happened is Was it Regina or Adrian that was like the one who was the lead on this?
I think it was Adrian, but I could be wrong.
Because okay, what happened was she saw there was a tweet from Michigan's. I think it was their government that was like,
It was like
if you get
our
weird,
Florida Department of Agriculture. It's
yeah,
like Michigan Department of Agriculture, I think is what it
and
was.
they basically just said, if you get weird seeds in the mail, please don't plant those weird seeds in the ground. Get rid of them. And they had this whole list of the ridiculous stuff you were supposed to do to get rid of them, because if you got them, you're supposed to put them in like a Ziploc and like make it airtight and then throw it away. Don't compost it. If you planted them anywhere, they had this whole list of how to sanitize whatever you put them in and to dispose of even the dirt that was around them if you planted them in the ground. And so it became this whole like thing. Like there's these seeds happening to people. Seeds are just showing up in your mailbox. If you get them, don't like use them, send them to us. And so she heard this and she's like, what is happening here? And then she started digging into how common is this and why is this happening? Because it became like I didn't like dig into it back then. You know, it was just I heard that people were getting weird seeds and that everybody was freaking out about it. And then as I was listening to this episode, I was wondering if a lot of that had to do with, I think it was, they were saying it was like right midsummer. So it was kind of the peak of people freaking out about COVID, where like we had already started like the shutdowns and everything like that. We weren't really sure what was happening kind of at that time when the shutdowns were happening. We're like, oh, this is starting to be a thing. But then there was like some fear, and like the supply chain started getting messed up at grocery stores, and everybody bought 6,000 rolls of toilet paper in case they needed to make a raft out of it. And so there was a lot of like fear and weirdness going on at the time. And I think that's partially why this even is a story. So I feel like there's like a lot of weird cultural context to this even being a thing, because I'm sure people get random misshipped items from Amazon all the time.
Yes.
But this became a thing.
And apparently it wasn't just happening here in the US. It was happening in Canada, it was happening in Europe, and it was happening in Australia. And so all these people are getting these bags of mystery seeds, but there was just this mystery of like, why are they getting it? And that's kind of what they were trying to dig up and try to find out what the answer to that was. Because what's weird, and there was multiple theories, some of the people who got seeds from China had ordered seeds.
Yeah.
But they had like took forever to get them, and then all of a sudden they showed up, and of course they freaked out when they were from China, which, like you just said, I think there's some cultural context to that in the moment, where before, literally a year ago, no one would have given a crap if they were from China, probably.
Yeah.
But because of what was going on, it became like this big deal. But some people didn't order seeds and got seeds, and so that's what was kind of like, well, okay, there's a head scratcher here. Why are these people just randomly getting seeds? And my first question to you, Zach, because I had to think about this. Would you plant, if you got a bag of seeds, would you plant any of them?
Okay. Knowing what I know now, I would do this differently. I feel like, yes, I would plant them. But we know how to do it in a controlled environment. You know what I mean? Like, I do also understand the issue of invasive stuff. You know, I do get that. And so I wouldn't just like go Johnny Appleseed, like slinging it around on the side of the road. But I would, like, the mystery of that is so awesome. You know what I mean?
I know.
Like, you get like a packet of seeds, you're like, what is this? And then you can just plant it and find out, you know?
I mean, what if they're magic seeds, dude? What if there's a giant beanstalk and you can like...
I'd be really surprised if they just sent me a giant magical beanstalk for free. But yeah, no, I would be very tempted, and it would be very difficult for me to, like, their advice of like, if you get seeds, don't do anything with them, throw them away. It'd be like, I want to plant them a little bit. Like,
I would really want to plant them like in a little pot near a window inside, so it's not like, I don't know. I would, the mystery, man, I'd want to know what kind of seeds they were.
Yeah, that's what would get me too. You know, and I'm just trying to be honest. Like, yeah, I know you shouldn't, and you just,
and I know
like,
it's a bad idea. Yes, I agree.
Because like,
it's probably not the best.
But I would be so curious if it just randomly showed up, and so I would probably want to do it. But then they start talking. One of my favorite parts of this episode. It's really funny the whole time, which is always a great kind of thing. But they start reading some of the emails or like the complaint forms, because both her and somebody who was working for, what was that other company? It's like Motherboard. It was Motherboard. It
Yes.
was, what is it? Is it Vice's tech side? I
Uh,
can't remember what the distinction
I
was.
don't remember. There's so
Motherboard
many.
is associated with another publication, but two people, somebody she had formerly worked with, and they'd done collaborative stuff with since then, were both looking for this. And so they did a Freedom of Information Act request, I think. And they basically said, what's going on here? We want to see like the stuff here. And so they were tracking down more information on what all was happening, because she wanted to understand why it was happening. She wanted to understand what, like how expansive it was. So she started reading some of the emails, and then you start to get to some of this weird like cultural stuff that's happening, because some people were like, okay, my garden center closed because of COVID, and I had to order seeds online, but then I got them and they had Chinese letters on them. And if I would have known it was from China, I wouldn't want it. And so there was that category. There was one category of people who were just like, I didn't order seeds, but I got seeds, and they were in an earring bag. You know what I mean? There was that
Yeah.
category of just randomness. And then there was also some people who, like Kirk and I, have
They
now
just think-
divulged. They're just
Go ahead.
they planted them. They and there was a little bit of neighbor drama going on where one of the neighbors was like, don't plant those seeds, and he was like, oh, I'm planting them. And he just like threw them in his yard, and then he's like, and they're taking over the whole yard now. So there's so much like of a time capsule of that moment in these emails, and it was hilarious.
There's one
to
more
listen to.
category that was probably my favorite, which was people that were just really confused.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay, I ordered so and so, but I got a bag full of spoons and forks from China, and
Yeah.
I'm just assuming they're full of COVID.
Yeah, one did say, I'm sure it's full of COVID. And one said, I got a root from China, and then I went and I washed my hands, and then I took a shower. And it's like,
Like,
okay.
I did touch it, but I washed my hands and took a shower.
It's like,
well,
I guess that's okay. You don't know what it was technically.
you're
So,
acting like you're freaking out about it, but you touched it. Yeah, it's just like,
yeah,
I don't know.
I wonder if I do wish that I could see the entire progression there of like, what is that? And they touch it like, oh, I shouldn't have touched that. And so they're like, then they like go shower their whole body. They do like what was that Gator show out of Louisiana where he'd take a bath and bleach?
I don't remember that.
can't-
I remember the show, but I don't remember.
Yeah, he would definitely put he would dilute some bleach in his
The
bathtub.
name of that show was Swamp Buddies,
Yep,
right?
or Swamp Buddies,
It wasn't Swamp Buddies.
Swamp
It
Boys,
was Swamp People.
Swamp People. But yeah,
Swamp
no,
Buddies
she
is better.
there was a lot of hilarious emails that were received. People did end up sending in their seeds, but the thing is, because this took off in like a social media way, people start getting freaked out about it. They started saying that it was China doing eco-terrorism, but which, I mean, first of all, it's like social engineering. It's like most effective hacks are done because they find one person and make them do something that like compromises the system. So this is essentially that, where Kirk and I have just revealed that if someone were to send us some kind of like deadly plant that would kill everyone, we would have planted it. We would have ruined the country.
We'd be the first ones dead.
And so they started thinking that, was it that, or was it essentially what they call it, brushing? That was one of the theories from the very beginning. It's one of the first things they say in the episode is it sounds like brushing. And I had never thought about this. I hadn't really like put this together. I knew that, okay, basically what brushing is buying reviews for your Amazon seller page.
Yep.
And I think all of us know at this point how important those reviews are, because I felt personally attacked when she talked about it. I always read reviews, but I never leave them. So,
It's true. I'm the same way.
and I feel like there is like a skill set in being able to read reviews, because I also know that they do like trades where they'll send you the product if you will just leave a review. So I thought that's what it was. But I think brushing is the scammier side of this.
So if I understand it correctly, and I need you to maybe explain it, because they explained it twice and I still didn't get it. This company would make a fake order, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they would have to send it and it had to go through Amazon. So it had to weigh about what their product would weigh and go through the whole supply chain to get to somewhere.
No, and this was not Amazon fulfilled. So the brushing, you can't do it through Amazon fulfilled because that's literally in an Amazon warehouse somewhere. And so they would catch you immediately. This is from, okay, when you click on like an Amazon thing and it says not available, like it doesn't say not available, but it doesn't say like Amazon fulfilled. You click on another merchant. That means there's some other person who has a warehouse and ships, but just lists it on Amazon. And with that, they don't have to weigh it. They don't have to do anything besides that. They probably have to show a postage, like the label that prints out for shipping. And that's it. So what they do is they go through and they just send whatever wherever.
My only question that I had is like, can't they just pretend that they sent it? Why does it actually have to be sent?
I'm wondering how far they check on it. You know what I mean? Because okay, printing label's one thing, but sending a label could be it. You know what I mean? Because when you first like ship something, somebody scans it. And so that might be the point where they know that you shipped it. Where printing labels could just be very easily like, oh, we printed 4,000 labels, we shipped 4,000 things. And maybe they went to the next step of we check it based on the scan from the first person sending it. You know what I mean? So they have to send something. And what they do is you can literally buy this. You know, you can buy this service where people will
And
do
apparently
this.
it's very not just illegal because it is illegal, but it's also like completely against Amazon's policies and you can like get kicked off the platform immediately. But it's still something that a lot of these Chinese companies do. And I did not know how big China was with like e-commerce. Also, I didn't know that they didn't use Amazon at all. Like
I didn't
apparently
either.
it's very low on the list of what anybody in China uses.
Yeah, they're all using like a local one, like local versions of e-commerce. So
Yeah.
in like specific to China e-commerce platforms. So very
They
interesting.
talked about the Shenzhen area
Mm-hmm.
in China and like how it's like 90% just e-commerce businesses, like companies that are making stuff to sell on Amazon. Like even like the billboards and stuff are like for iPhone screws they were
Yeah,
talking about.
they said on like one train stop in there, you could literally see ads for like a screw that's for making iPods or iPhones,
We're
and so
old.
it's that specific. People are that intense about it, and
And
so
40 they said 45% of the sellers on Amazon are from China, like are for Chinese companies.
it's mind
Specifically
blowing.
probably from around this area. That's nuts.
Which
45%.
especially considering they don't buy anything from Amazon. Like it's literally just them for us. It's just
It's
an export vehicle.
yep.
But yeah, it's all crazy. So that was one of the theories. And then they continue kind of taking you down this path. And that's what really reminded me of Reply All is the story of
Yeah.
how they reveal this whole situation and how they reveal the new information they get is awesome. The whole time we were listening to this, we were both just like, "Oh, what?" And so it just keeps going and you keep finding out more and more. So she got in touch with the USDA and they found out what kind of seeds were being sent. And it was nothing. It was plants. It was just random
Yeah.
plants. They didn't find anything that was like
Nothing
particularly
weird.
invasive or in any way damaging
Not even
to.
anything cool, man. I hope it was like a, I don't know, bonsai tree or something like special from China. It was like freaking mustard and cabbage and morning glory and mint. Come on.
I
It's
mean,
boring.
yeah,
Some
I mean, I
roses.
would be slightly disappointed, but then also not if I planted my mystery seeds and I just got like mint.
Yeah, yeah, I guess.
It's okay. But yeah, no, they basically didn't find anything crazy with it. It wasn't some kind of eco terrorism. It was nothing like that. And so then they started really digging into the brushing angle. And this is where, to me, it just got like insane because this was not at all where I saw this episode going. And you end up like learning so much about things that are happening constantly and
Yeah.
integral to like how we're shopping now because I like how much did Amazon's revenues go up this year? You know,
Oh my
it's not like
gosh.
people don't know who Amazon is or people aren't familiar with using Amazon, but still I didn't know some of these like little details about how it all works and you learn so much about it later in the episode.
Yeah. All right. Tiny break, real quick. What are we at? 20. We
20
need to do our ad
minutes.
break soon. So but I don't want to end it inorganically get there. Let's try to get there organically. I do want to touch on like one of the biggest impacts that we have had with ag stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But let's maybe close the loop on the
On the show
brushing
itself.
stuff. Yeah, on the brushing stuff that we were talking about.
Okay.
What did you just say talking about it?
What's that?
How much we were talking about how much Amazon has
Yeah.
grown and stuff like that.
So yeah, basically, Amazon's made a ton of money. It was amazing to learn all this like background information on it, but then you find out she starts calling really, really specific people. So people with very specific skill sets to setting up Amazon e-commerce in China, and
Yeah, like specialists in the field.
yeah, very, very specific interest. And the first guy she talks to was an American that would work over there, and he said, "Oh, it's probably brushing. It's probably some random doofus started sending out seeds. He's like, these things are light. We could just send these." And so they probably just did that. And in the end, she starts talking. She went and she like the amount of detail and the amount of work that she put into like getting this story is serious, because she starts going to forums that are specific to Chinese e-commerce sellers, and they have all these things about like how to do brushing and everything like that, and like companies that do this, because like Kirk said, this isn't something that's accepted. It's actually very not. So you can't get caught doing it. But she ends up finding someone who literally works for one of these brushing companies.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh yeah, that's brushing. It's definitely, that's what that was." Is they started sending the seeds, and the only reason that they stopped was because it was starting to be a problem. They got too much heat on the whole thing, and they're like, "Oh, this is really bad." They think we're trying to like kill them. That stop with the seeds. Just stop with the seeds. And so that's the only reason that it stopped. But it did. It did stop.
Why didn't they use like rice or something? You know, like it's a similar thing, or like beans.
Beans wouldn't be bad. No, but I'm sure they were just like, all right, we just need to back off this for a little bit. We need to just let
It's
everything
like
settle
really
down.
easy to like get a specific weight from something like that. I don't know.
But yeah, no, she ends up,
The ideas.
yeah, they end up kind of digging into this whole crazy thing that became this weird moment in time where everybody was freaking out, and it was literally just trying to buy Amazon reviews, is all it was.
But with that, granted, I know that we've admitted that we would probably plant these seeds, and that's probably not the best thing.
It's not. Don't plant the seeds if you get them,
Don't
everybody.
plant the seeds, guys. There's actually some very important and really bad stuff that could happen if you were to plant seeds like this. Not specifically that, but there's definitely some invasive species that have in the past really devastated some agricultural stuff here in the US, and we'll talk about that right after a break from our sponsors. '24.
By the way, I think this was pre-roll.
Oh, this one's the one that had pre-roll?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, well, that's why you didn't remember the ad and we didn't put anything in here. Because you're smarter than me.
No, I thought that's what you were saying, but I was like, I don't know.
He's like, I'll roll with them being dumb.
I should just double checked on it. I thought that's what you were talking about, but
I forgot.
I thought you were mainly saying you wanted to wrap this so you could go into the next conversation, not so you could do the roll.
Nope. I
So
was being stupid. I forgot. All right. Well, I'll just have to take that out now. I already have the timestamp. So there we go.
there we go. Nice and easy.
But yeah, in around 2006, the U.S. did get a invasive species in the form of a pest, specifically a small, like almost like an aphid looking bug. It was called the Asian citrus psyllid. And I used to work in agriculture, and specifically in citrus, and I know how much this thing like had literally devastated the United States citrus industry. That one little bug, and I don't think there's good consensus on where it, like how it got here. We know where it came from. It did come from Asia, but we don't know how it got here.
No, it could be anything.
Yeah, it could have been anything. I think the first time it was found was like in somebody's backyard in like South Florida. And then eventually it got into all the way to California, and both places, which are the main places that the citrus from the US is grown, have been devastated by this disease,
Yep.
which this bug causes, which is called citrus greening. It basically will make the tree, it ties up the tree's vascular system where it can't like move the sap through the plant into the leaves, into the fruit. So in a matter of like 3 to 5 years, the plant will die, which citrus trees will last like 20, 30 years. So if you have a tree that's going to only last 3 years, 5 years, it's ridiculous. It's horrible. Plus, in that time, it will produce less and less fruit, and some of it's not marketable because it doesn't taste good. It basically doesn't ripen. That's why it's citrus greening. The fruit like remains green. And I saw an article that talked about how much damage it had done, and I think that article was written like in 2011, and it had done almost $2 billion worth of damage in Florida alone.
It's just crazy.
Just Florida. So that was in 2011, from 2006 to 2011. Imagine from then till now. I mean, literally, the citrus industry in Florida is disappearing because there's no cure for it. There's no cure for it yet.
Yeah, no, everybody's working on it. Like everybody is trying to find the cure.
Everybody's trying to find the cure. All these scientists are like rushing so hard. All these giant companies are trying to find the cure, but they haven't found one yet. And it's just like, I don't know. It's terrifying, and all from this tiny little bug that has a bacteria. Specifically, it has a bacteria on its like little grabbers, and the grabbers inject the bacteria into the plant. Like it's not even like the bug is doing anything bad as much as the bacteria that is naturally occurring on these bugs.
Yeah.
It's crazy, and it's like devastated citrus. Luckily, I don't think it's really hit South America as far as I know, like Brazil and stuff, where we get a lot of our other citrus imported. But I mean, you're probably not going to see very many fruits of like citrus when it comes to, oranges or grapefruits or even some little tangerines. Probably not see that many of them from the US anymore because of this little bitty baby bug. And that's the danger, and that's the fear that the USDA has with something like this.
Yeah.
There's been less cases than that. I mean, less severe cases than this, like with invasive species of plants and things like that.
Sure.
That thrive in an ecosystem that they weren't normally in. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I definitely get why they were
about the monkeys in Silver Springs. I mean,
and you don't want to know about those monkeys. They all have herpes.
They all have herpes,
and they're going crazy now. Yeah, no, I definitely don't think they overreacted to the threat of like potentially an invasive species, because they just take off. They take off in a way that you can never anticipate. And so I mean, I'm glad somebody's out there being concerned about that, because it happens all the time.
Yeah. But I think I changed my mind. I don't think I would plant the seeds anymore. I talked myself out of it.
No, I would. It would be in a very controlled environment. I do it in my bathtub. No, but overall, it's a great show. If you are into like shows like Reply All and things where you learn a ton of stuff and it feels like an investigation and you're like unfolding this whole story, it's a really, really great one. They have all kinds of different topics. It's not like agriculture specific, but they will literally just break into these random stories that are so interesting. So I cannot recommend this show more. Hope everybody checks it out.
Yeah, no, it's a great show, and it's funny. You're learning something, and I really liked the hosts as well. So I guess that brings us to this week's recommendation. I have one that I've listened to so many episodes of this show, but it's kind of more my taste. But I found a specific episode that I think that we can listen to and talk about that everyone will like. The name of the show is called Startup, and it's by Gimlet. And the first 2 seasons were specifically about the starting of the company Gimlet, which is a podcast company for those that don't know, and it has a bunch of different podcasts, including Reply All. But they pivoted from just talking about the starting of that company to the starting of a lot of other startups. And in I think season 3, they kind of focused on a few small stories rather than like a whole series on, a whole, what is it? A whole season. They didn't do a whole season on every single one of these. They did like maybe 2 or 3 episodes. And the one I want to talk about is Twitch in particular, because we're live streaming on Twitch right now. And, Twitch has been acquired by Amazon, and it's a crazy story. It's a crazy story how it started. It's a crazy story how many times it almost failed. How it didn't fail. Like, there's no reason that Twitch should exist right now. And if you listen to this, you'll understand what I mean. And you'll also be like, man, if these guys can do it, I think I could do it. So it's an interesting story. It's a great, I think they're about 40 minutes each. So it's not too bad.
That'll be perfect.
So it'll be Twitch 1 and Twitch 2. I think it's season 3. It's literally titled Twitch episode 1. And then there's like a little talking about it, and then Twitch 2. There's a 2-part episode on Twitch, and that's Startup from Gimlet.
Sounds good.
And remember,
there's always more to discover. All right, painless. I'm gonna go ahead and stop this.
Yeah, if only I remember where the freaking ads were supposed to go or not go.
I'm right? Like, I'm pretty sure that was that was the double pre-roll.
You're right, because the other one's the one we have mid-roll, and you already have that in there. I knew we had ads. I just in my brain, I'm just so used to mid-roll, and we hadn't done very many pre-rolls until this new batch.
Yeah, it could be. Well, thanks for hopping in the stream, everybody. We appreciate it. We're gonna take a quick 2-minute break or so and get everything reset for our other show, Discovery Weekly. And we're going to talk about everything else we discovered throughout this week. Then after that, we're going to play some video games, and we hope everybody sticks around because we're having a good time, and we hope you are too. Thanks for checking out the stream. We really appreciate it, and we will be right back.
We're back.
I'm gonna go ahead and hit record on this so we can. Oh, I'm gonna lose Kirk for a second. I should have done this in the break. All right, bye, Kirk.
Bye.
There he goes. There he is. He's back.
Hi.
He's back. Don't worry, everybody. Okay. But yeah, we changed the name of this show just this year to Discovery Weekly because we felt like the other Discovery show was not specific enough. Because what's the other? What's the original Discovery show?
It's been a this format, this show has grown more than anything else. I feel like it didn't exist, and then it was a thing that was real stupid, and then it became a little bit not as stupid, and then it got a little bit better, and then it became its own thing, and now we're making its own thing with its own name.
Yeah. No, I think it's been progressively getting better.
No, I agree. I agree. I like this part of the show where we get to discover more stuff that's not necessarily have anything to do with podcasts.
We're all going to learn a new word together on one of mine. Just wait till you see it. It's ridiculous.
You're going to learn a lot of stuff today, I feel like.
Wait till you see
it. Some good stuff. I got to watch some of that NASA rocket test today. It sucks because it didn't. I mean, it worked, but they had to shut it down early because something went wrong, and they didn't really address it. I think it was supposed to I think they were supposed to use that rocket for 8 minutes, and I think they had it on for less than one.
Well, that's why you test.
Turn it off. Yeah. And they're like, "Oh, we got so much data that we can still use, from this test." And it was a successful test. And I'm like, "Wait, you were supposed to do it for 8 minutes. You did it for 1 minute." I mean, I guess you tested things and you found an issue. So I guess that's successful in a way.
Yeah, unless the test was designed to blow it up, then it was unsuccessful.
I don't think so because the people were not that far away from it.
Okay, so yeah, probably not. Probably not then. All right, we are recording, so you can kick off whenever. We're at right around 2 minutes.
All right. Put 3-ish. Welcome to Discovery Weekly, the podcast from the Podcast Discovery Show that's about all the other things that we've discovered throughout the week. I'm Kirk.
And I am Zach.
And your brother, Zach, Gabe, sent me this article and asked if I had heard about this. And I read it and I said, no, I have not heard about this, but there's no way that I'm not talking about this on Discovery Weekly because it is an amazing story and about a product that most of us know of, or if not used. And it's about the story about Burt's Bees.
Okay.
So I'm going to read a lot of this article because it's written very well. And I don't think my paraphrase is going to be as good as what some of the writing. A few years ago, Noel Hancock wrote a story for Cosmopolitan titled "Why I Gave Up $95,000 Job to Move to an Island and Scoop Ice Cream." The post went viral, and thereafter, after other former members of corporate America surfaced to share similar stories, each had a common undertone. Their jobs were unfulfilling and soul-sucking. So they shipped off to paradise where their salary was axed, but their happiness multiplied. Burt Shavitz also wanted to ditch his shiny career for a simpler lifestyle, but instead of taking a pay cut, he became a multimillionaire. A little backstory, though. Shavitz is the founder of Burt's Bees, hence the fortune. But he isn't your typical glamour beauty brand owner. He once was a photojournalist who shot the likes of JFK and Malcolm X. But he moved upstate after, and I love this. There was a pivotal moment, this one moment that he's like, I don't want to do this anymore. It says, he moved upstate after snapping an image of an elderly neighbor looking out her apartment window. This is a quote from him. I knew that would be me, 90 years old and unable to go outside if I didn't get the hell out. And what he did out of the concrete jungle and into the fresh air and sweeping lands, and that he did. He left. He just went to the woods, essentially. It was this exact reconnection with nature that would serve Shavitz his success. One day, while gathering firewood, he came across a fence post surrounded by a swarm of bees. He'd previously been gifted an empty beehive, so he had this random beehive that someone had gifted him, but he had no bees. So the encounter with the bees, as he put it, was an act of God. From there, Shavitz would cultivate several other hives, fostering the honey and wax, and well, the rest is history. Sort of. Basically, the rest of the story is he inherited this piece of property from his grandfather that had a 400 square foot turkey coop, and that became his home. Had no electricity or running water. Um,
I got to switch to some. You guys got to see this thing. So we're gonna have all this in the show notes for the podcast listeners, but I'm gonna have to break out some so they can all see this.
he met his business partner and his life partner, Roxanne Quimby, because she was hitchhiking. There's just so many, like, I don't know, little things of this story that are just crazy. So he met her while she was hitchhiking, and he encouraged her to repurpose his wax that he had left over from his bees into candles and what would later become Burt's Bees' hero product, lip balm. By the way, the recipe, guess where he found it, Zach?
Where?
He found it in an old farmer's almanac.
Did he?
That's where the recipe for freaking Burt's Bees lip
That's
balm
wild.
came from.
Yeah, I made sure to highlight to everyone at least so you could see Bert and you could see the turkey coop.
Yeah. Quimby outsourced an artist to sketch his face for the product packaging, and the brand took on its own now famous namesake, and his face has been on the label ever since. It eventually got bought by Clorox for $970 million, so almost $1 billion. This company got bought for. There was definitely some weird business stuff that happened, but this guy has always been a simple guy, and he basically got only $4 million from the buyout because of crazy personal things along with business things that really ruined the relationship with him and his business partner. But it's just this crazy story, and I think he literally went back with that $4 million and went and still lived in that shack with his dog. What was his dog's name? I think it was like Rufus.
Rufus is a great dog name. It is Rufus.
Yeah.
Golden retriever named Rufus.
Yep. And it says in July 2015, Shavitz passed away at the age of 80, but his legacy is immortalized in yellow labels sold around the globe, far beyond his anticipation. What was once a roadside honey business morphed into a billion-dollar company with a product line spanning makeup, skincare, hair care, baby products, and its latest and most unexpected venture, protein powders. I didn't know they made protein powders, but apparently they do. But that is the story of Burt's Bees and the founder, Mr. Shavitz.
Yeah, that's wild. And honestly, the very beginning part is always been so interesting to me. You know, the why I gave up $100,000 job to move and scoop ice cream. Mm-hmm. That's always been because you hear people talk about it where like money doesn't buy happiness, and like you can be very successful, but if it's like killing you emotionally and like mentally, people will bail from it, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's really interesting to hear of somebody that he basically made it, but also that exact same like spirit of I'm just going to go live and be happy is why he found these things. Like he had just a random beehive that he probably bartered for. Like, you know what I mean? He got it. Just somebody's like, hey, you want this? He's like, okay. And so all of it was just kind of fitting to his journey. So it's always interesting to hear that type of story for sure.
Yeah, and the fact that like, he just took this picture of this old lady that in her apartment looking out the window, and he's like, I just don't want that to be me inside of a city, inside of an apartment. Like he just didn't want that. So it's crazy that there was this pivotal moment where he's like, nope, not doing that.
Yeah, I haven't used Burt's Bees in a while, but I definitely did.
Yeah, I liked it. I like it. I mean, I didn't know it was bought by Clorox. I didn't know they owned it. I thought it was still kind of a small company.
Did they put bleach in it?
I think Clorox owns a lot of things that don't have bleach in it.
So I discovered something this week because Kirk and I were talking about it at work. I think we were talking about Friday the 13th, or I can't remember what the number we were talking about was.
Yes.
We were talking about, like, why is Friday the 13th a thing? And
Or
so
just
I
the
looked.
13, like 13, I think. we
Yeah,
were talking
lucky
about. Like,
13 or like unlucky 13
why
type
is
thing. We're like,
13
why
an
is that a
unlucky
thing?
number?
So I found this National Geographic article that talks a little bit about it. And one of the cool things that I found out is this is not specific to America, and other countries have different unlucky numbers.
What?
So for us, they say the 13th is thought to be unlucky because the idea that the number 12 is complete. So like 12 apostles, 12 months in the year,
Okay.
12 zodiac signs, and then 13 is just off of that. And that's just that was from a senior research fellow and paranormal investigator for Skeptical Inquirer magazine. But in other countries, there are different ones that are unlucky. So in China, the number 4 is unlucky because the pronunciation of the word in Chinese is similar to that as the word for death. So just like in America, where a lot of times construction companies will skip the 13th floor on a building.
Mhm.
Like, it'll still be there, obviously, because that's how numbers work. But they
That's
won't.
what always blew my mind. Is like it's still the 13th floor. You just put the number.
Yeah, they put 14
over
on it so that people don't get scared. Yeah.
When I was a kid, I thought that the 13th floor was just empty. Like the 13th floor existed, but it was empty.
They would
And I was
never
like,
give
"That's
up that money.
creepy."
They would never give up that money.
No, I
So
know.
basically, just don't
I
go
know
to the
that
14th
now.
floor. They're lying to you. But yeah, no, just like that in China, they'll sometimes skip the 4th floor because it sounds like death, the word death. And apparently, 9 is the one in Japan because it sounds similar to the word for torture or suffering. So all of theirs make more sense than ours. Where
Theirs
there's
does
literally-
make more
They
sense.
just don't like it. They're like, ugh. It makes me think of like death because it sounds exactly like death. Some Italians are superstitious about Friday the 17th because if you rearrange the Roman numeral 17, it can create the word. It's like Vixie is what it looks like, and translated from Latin to mean "my life is over."
That's a little. That's like very abstract.
It
I feel
is
like.
that
Like,
one. That one's more of a reach to me. That one, and it says some Italian, so I don't think it's very popular. The number 39 gets a bad rap in Afghanistan. Many Afghans say that the number 39 translates into Mordegao, which literally means dead cow, but is also a well-known slang term for a pimp. So there's that. So yeah, you don't want to wait. Dead cow is a slang term for a pimp.
That's what I was thinking. That's what that you buried the lead there. That's weird.
I'm curious.
Now I want to know why that's the thing, but
But
that's for a different discovery.
then we get to probably the one that Kirk and I are most familiar with because it was like something we grew up with. The fear of the number 666. And
God.
this phobia has a literal name that I'm going to put in chat right now, and I'm going to try and make Kirk pronounce first.
Okay.
All right, check that out.
Okay, let me
That
see
is the
here.
fear of the number 666.
Hexacosio hexconta exaphobia.
Yeah, like it was something like that. It's like hexcosia hexaconta hexaphobia. And basically all it is the first, like all the Latin in the front is 666 phobia. That's basically what it means. It's very literal from Latin. But this is we were familiar with this in the Bible. In the book of Revelation, John the Apostle refers to 666 as the number of the beast, and typically they think the beast is like the Antichrist or the devil, and so that one makes sense religiously based. But it was just crazy to hear about all of that. But apparently that word, the fear of it, literally there's people who will go out of their way and like avoid anything with that number, and like they feel like an irrational sense of its control over them and stuff like that. It's far beyond like, I mean, even when I was like in school and they were like, everybody was worried about the mark of the beast, it's like, I'm pretty sure that's really on the nose. Like if somebody would be like, you need to get 666 on your forehead, it'd be like, no, like that. It wouldn't.
I know what you're
Yeah, it would have to
doing.
be more subtle than that, right? Like it would have to be more subtle. Like you should put this devil number on your face. It's gonna be good. But
But
yeah,
there's
no, it's
so
just.
many rock songs that if you play it backwards, it says 666. Zach,
I mean,
didn't you
honestly, if
learn
you put
anything in
anything
Sunday
backwards,
school?
I feel like it's kind of the same thing as listening for like ghost voices, where they're like, "Do you hear that?" And then they put subtitles under it, and you're like, "Kind of." When you like tell me what I'm listening for, like, not exactly.
Yeah, I'm kidding.
No, I know.
The, we there was definitely so much like fear and stuff,
Oh no,
specifically
like they
around kind
definitely
of
take
things
it
like this.
seriously. They take
Um,
666 seriously. Like if you were to just go spray paint that on a church, they would lose their mind and think that Satanists were coming to get them.
yeah, yeah. But that's an interesting word. I'm gonna say it one more time. Hexacosio-hexakentaexaphobia.
Perfect.
Getting
Nailed it.
better at it.
It is a crazy
Speaking of
word.
speaking of things that need explanation, like these irrational fear of numbers or these unlucky numbers, I've always been fascinated by English idioms and like where did they come from? There's so many, and there's just like I can't talk about all these because there's seriously so many. But like turn a blind eye, that one's one that I'm like, what does that
Hmm.
mean? And apparently there was this British admiral who had one eye that he was blind in, and if there was something on the battlefield that he didn't want to see, but he wanted to act like he was looking at, he would literally look through the like looking glass with his blind eye and that's where it came from. Was this dude would like pretend he was looking at something through his blind eye, and that was kind of his thing. He's like, I turned a blind eye. Um,
I mean, I'm sure the other people on that ship are like, "Man, we know that eye doesn't work.
you have an eye patch.
Stop lying to me."
um, the phrase "feeling under the weather" that has to do with like sailors and stuff like that, where let's say they get sick or anything like that, they would go under the ship, like into the into the bottom part of the ship where there's not as much rolling and movement, and they would be now under the weather because they weren't feeling good.
And that's why they call it the poop deck.
That's a different one. uh, that's actually not an idiom. That's just why do they call it the poop deck? I don't know why they call it the poop deck.
You know
I
why.
gotta look that one up later.
It's self-explanatory.
Beat around the bush. Apparently, back in the day, they would do these grouse hunts. In a lot of this is from like England, like old English stuff, and you would have to like beat the bushes to get the grouse to come out. So stop circling the point and get to the the point that you're trying to get at. Stop beating around the bush. Just get the freaking
Just hit the bird with the stick.
just get the bird. Spill the beans. That one was an interesting one. The ancient Greeks would vote, but it would be secret votes like in their government, and they would use different colored beans. But if the person that was holding the bag of beans were to drop it and spill it, it would reveal the election before it was intended, and it no longer would be a secret. It's just so weird. Here's one that I like, and one that I thought was fascinating. The whole phrase, the proof is in the pudding.
I've always wondered about this, actually.
So this one,
God, that picture's disturbing. I need to show everyone. I need to show everyone this. That is, if you can't read the text, that says steak and kidney pudding, England.
that's the thing, is like for us, we're thinking of freaking chocolate pudding, right? I mean, that's what I think of pudding, or vanilla pudding, tapioca pudding, just pudding, like what we think of as pudding in the US. But really, it has to do with the British people would make these puddings, which is basically almost like a pastry, like a puff pastry around something in the middle, meat, minced vegetables, or something like that. And the actual saying in Britain is the proof of the pudding is in the eating, which makes more sense, but also is more of a mouthful and doesn't seem as catchy. But it has to do with you don't know what's inside of it until you eat it, until you open it up.
And inside is steak and kidney.
Gross.
Disgusting.
Gross. So yeah, there's just so many fascinating things that we say that a lot of times we don't even remember where they came from, but we know what they mean. And it's funny because when you're talking to someone that understands your language but doesn't understand some of the cultural stuff, we very easily say stuff like this and they get very confused.
Yes.
Because we understand, and there's a lot of context to us growing up in it, but there's so many and I'm very fascinated by other cultures as well. Every culture has their own idioms. So it's very I don't know. I always thought that it was a fascinating thing where you get these sayings and things like that.
Yeah.
I'm always saying stuff as well that my wife's like, "What did you just say?" I'm like, "That's a saying." But most of mine are like redneck sayings that I grew up with my dad saying or something. You know?
There's
I
a
don't
good
know.
biscuit at the bottom of every slop bucket.
Exactly. Yeah.
First of all, I
All
don't
right.
agree with that idiom.
No?
I don't know. There's a good biscuit at the bottom of a slop bucket. No, I just remember that from our teacher.
Yep.
That's the
Ken
only time
Stoffel.
I've ever heard that. He also said it's pecans because it's trash can, not trash con. So that's words to live by.
Okay. That's what we learned in school, guys.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll be right back with more discoveries right after a word from our sponsors. Hey, I did it right this time.
Nailed it. You practiced for it last time, so you're ready.
All right.
Is that a long enough break for you?
Yeah. I put the timestamp, so I don't even need it really.
So I discovered something that we have all experienced, and it's called CNN Airport. I always thought that airport TVs they just put on the cable news or whatever, and they'd pick a channel. There is a specific channel called CNN Airport that is
What?
designed specifically for airports.
I did not know
It
that.
is a 24-hour scheduling. It is, and they said roughly on this Wikipedia, but by the way, 20 years of Wikipedia, everybody. Go Wikipedia. But they have a 24-hour
Happy
schedule.
birthday. You can almost
16,
drink.
16% is live news, 19% is live sports, 24% is lifestyle, 24% is travel, and 10% is for local stuff at that airport specifically. So basically, it started in 1991, and they wanted to try and really isolate kind of how people are watching at an airport, because you want it to be something so that people are seeing stuff constantly, because you kind of just have people wandering around, people sitting, and so you have to try and mix up everything so that people are always getting the right mixture of TV, essentially. And
It's so weird when you hear people talk about how intentional they are about things that we just take for granted, like that.
yes.
Like it just like you said, it just we would think they got TVs, they're just gonna throw on the news somewhere, some random channel.
Yeah. No, and literally CNN Airport airs in 58 airports in the U.S., and CNN will pay those airports to display the channel exclusively on their monitors. So any of these...
I would have thought the opposite. I
Yeah.
thought the airports would have to pay them.
No, I bet it's cheaper to just get a big old cable subscription. But essentially, they would do a lot of stuff. And because it's an airport and people are there middle of the night and whatever, and maybe don't want to watch like the weather report, they would also... It was not just CNN, so they had Cartoon Network and Turner Classic Movies, HBO, TBS, full-length NFL games, playoffs, and everything like that. And since I discovered this, there's been a press release on CNN Airport. At the end of March, CNN Airport will close because of the lack of people going to the airport, and because essentially now because this started in the 90s. Everybody didn't have a cell phone. Everybody didn't have a tablet and a laptop and a cell phone, and they didn't have any options. So what was on TV was important. It is not anymore, because I can't remember the last time I actually watched TV at an airport at all. But literally, he announced this.
Headphones in. When you're at an airport, your goal is to not interact with anybody. And this was before COVID. I can't even imagine what it's like since COVID.
It's very
just
odd.
Headphones, sit down, space between you, and enjoy the space because you're about to not have any.
Yeah, I literally, I've been on one flight since everything happened, and it was really weird. It was a very weird vibe because there's a lot less people. I got through the line really quick. Everybody is wearing a mask. There's a lot more room, so like the restaurants and everything are closed down. I basically just went and found somewhere alone, like away. I flew Southwest, and at the time, at least, they probably still are. I don't know, but they would leave all the middle rows empty, so the entire plane didn't have middle rows. So you were at least a seat away from everyone. But it's really weird to be on an airplane, and like I think I wore like a hoodie and like sweatpants, so I could literally lose the hoodie, lose the sweatpants, lose the mask as soon as I got there, and I just didn't wear them again until I like
could wash them.
Yeah. But I mean, I was going to get my car, so I drove back. So I just had to do a one way. But yeah, it's definitely super odd. But yeah, they basically cited that essentially everybody has phones now. And also, nobody's going to the airport right now for the most part.
Yeah. Well, I guess they can pivot to like gas station TV, which is a thing too.
It's terrible.
That's the worst.
They have not nailed that. It almost annoys me worse when it turns on because it won't always be on. It's like as soon as you pick up the pump, it starts yelling at you. It's like, just get out of here. I don't want to.
It's like 80% ads, and then like
I don't want to hear Jimmy Fallon make one joke.
Yeah, and it's like a tiny 2-second clip, and you're like, okay, I don't like this. There's something about it. I don't like this. I don't like this. It is grating somehow.
I definitely agree.
I have a really quick discovery. I do want you to show this one into the chat if you get a chance to, Zach.
Let's kick it over.
So I remember it was right before we went on our Christmas break that you talked about the Arecibo telescope in Puerto Rico. It had collapsed, and basically it hadn't been maintained, and it was probably going to shut down, which was like heartbreaking because it was such a important thing for scientists because they literally would be able to buy time slots and do whatever kind of research they wanted to do. Even like, extraterrestrial scientists that were trying to find aliens or alien planets were able to use it. It was kind of indiscriminate who was allowed to use it as long as you allotted the time, and I'm sure you have to pay something. But China is to open for the first time their FAST telescope to foreign scientists, including those searching for alien life. And this telescope looks exactly like Arecibo.
It really does.
This one is not in disrepair and falling apart. These telescopes are crazy. They are so big. And this is the world's largest radio telescope. So I think it's actually bigger than the one in Puerto Rico. But they're opening it up for all these slots for people to be able to rent it out and do whatever research they want to do. They're only allocating 10% of the total observational time slots to requests from overseas, but they're opening it for the first time. It's never been open to people outside of China until now. And I think it may have been kind of a little bit in response to the Arecibo telescope collapsing.
So that's a kind of cool legacy for Arecibo, is they kind of inspired them to open that up and let people kind of collaborate like they were doing.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a quick discovery. It's nothing. They go pretty deep in this article, but I mean the TLDR is, hey, there's a giant telescope in China as well, so we don't have to be as sad as we were about the one that got destroyed by the hurricanes in Puerto Rico, because there's another one in China.
Yeah, no, and I think they have plans for Arecibo. I think there was pretty strong response to it going down, so I think they're already planning what they can do next.
Yeah, that would be nice if they were able to get it working again. I actually didn't know about it until we talked about it.
Yeah, no,
I looked into it. I'm like, oh, that's awesome.
I just remembered it from. I didn't know what it was for. I remembered it from Goldeneye for sure. I remember that scene in Goldeneye where they're like, I think they dropped Sean Bean into it. I think he literally craters on the bottom of it. Is how he dies in that movie. Spoiler alert for a movie from the 90s.
Goldeneye. I don't even remember that movie, but I remember the video game.
Oh no, that's a good movie though. That's a good one. So I brought a discovery this week because I feel like there's a lot of bad news right now.
Yeah, there's so much bad news. I thought 2021 would be a little bit better, and I still have hopes. But Oh, it's
We're
off
just
to
we're
not a
still
great
in
start.
we're in the hangover phase right now. It's
We
okay.
are hungover. We are just very hungover from 2020, right?
Yes,
Let's just put it that way. It's
pretty much.
the hangover from 2020.
But I found out about an amazing plumber out of the UK. In 2017, James Anderson, who was called to a home for a second opinion and caught a heating company who'd attempted to con an elderly and disabled man out of €5,500.
Oh,
Disgusted and disheartened by this, he founded, I think it's pronounced DEFR, which is Disabled and Elderly Plumbing and Heating Emergency Response, and has since 2017 has helped more than 10,000 families.
what?
Basically,
Holy cow.
he's 53 years old and has worked as a plumber for a really long time, and he has just pledged to help disabled and elderly people no matter what. And since COVID has happened, that has expanded. He is now doing food parcels, personal protective equipment, and even paying bills for people. He says that
this
he
guy
has spent,
sounds awesome.
yeah, he says he spent €57,000 during the pandemic, but it was worth every penny because it kept people alive and warm. There's a quote from him. If you've got disabilities, issues, sometimes these things can become too difficult to overcome, and we want to make sure they're taken care of. We've got a social responsibility to each other. We need to be there for each other. He currently works with plumbers based in Lancashire, Manchester, Leeds, Nottingham, and parts of Scotland, and hopes to eventually cover the whole of the UK. He has a GoFundMe page, which that will also be linked in the show notes because
For sure.
why not? Like the guy is just trying to help people. But basically, he has this GoFundMe to just try and help people.
And it's such a shame because like that kind of stuff happens here in Florida in particular.
Mhm.
So
It's really bad.
much. It's so bad. And like we actually like let's just say the phone calls, we get phone calls on stuff like scams like that all the time because we live in Florida and they
Mhm.
just are hoping we're an elderly person that's just gonna fall for it.
Yep.
And it's a shame. Like it's really it just boils my blood because I've seen people take advantage of elderly people and it's not cool.
Yeah, and
Not at all.
these guys are the opposite of that. Between Christmas Day and New Year alone, he and a local team of 3 volunteers, 3 apprentices, and 4 engineers took on 93 free jobs.
Dang.
He says, I work 7 days a week, 70 hours a week. I haven't taken a single day off. I'll have enough rest when I'm dead. So wanted
Dude, this guy.
to give everybody here. I'm gonna show everybody a picture of him as well.
I need to see this
because
guy.
it's worth seeing this guy. So yeah, I'll also link his GoFundMe. But on the plus side, his GoFundMe has already beaten his goal. They've raised €20,000, and so it's just a really cool thing. His group that's literally just trying to support the elderly and the needy with these services is fantastic. So I don't know. It's always we always go back to the Mr. Rogers quote where it's always easy to look at the bad stuff, but it's just as easy to look for the helpers because they are there as well.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's a good thing to end the episode on. Now I feel warm and fuzzy.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
No, I read it and I was like, this guy sounds awesome. So I'm going to talk about him.
That's a good hangover cure. So hopefully we get more people like that and we can get over this 2020 hangover sometime soon.
But yeah, thanks so much for joining us for Discovery Weekly this week. We had a great time discovering new stuff. We hope you get in touch in all the different ways. We have everything linked in our show notes. And we
Give
will
us a call on the hotline. We haven't got any calls yet.
We
this
should
year,
do a hotline plug. We have that in the show notes as well. I wish I remembered it. I never remember the hotline number.
I have it. If you give me 1 second. You're probably going to pull it up before me.
Yep. Okay. Everybody call us at the Discovery Hotline. We'd love to hear from you. You can say whatever your random discovery is for the week, or you can just say hi. We'd love to hear from you. Our number is 813-708-9118. That is the Discovery Hotline.
Okay. Yeah, we'd love to hear from you guys. And remember, this is the Discovery Weekly Show.
I like that ending. Cut. Talk to you guys next week. I want him to do that every time we end.
It's just reminding myself that it's no longer the other Discovery
No,
show.
do not cut that part. Leave that part in there. That's our new tagline.
And remember, this is Discovery Weekly.
All right, I'm going to stop this. All right. Well, that was all of our recording for the week. Thanks, everybody, for checking it out.
I'm telling you, I not having a tagline at the end of the show just gets me. We need a tagline, Zach.
Moist March?
Moist March?
We don't need a tagline. No, the problem is you keep like searching for one in your brain and there is none, so you just circle around. I never want a tagline so that can happen every week.
Yeah. Well, speaking of hangovers, kiss your dad square on the lips.
Square on the lips.
Can't take that one.
No, I think people might notice.
January, huh? I am not doing dry January, but I'm on keto, so it's like a different thing. It's like either don't drink at all, which I have been drinking less, or drink and immediately get effed up. So it's a fun January.
He's playing it the real way.
I got effed up on wine the other day. I had like 2 glasses and I was white girl wasted, man. It was bad. Woke up with a headache.
Bought a new purse.
Bought a new purse I didn't even remember buying.
I didn't even need it.
I got so many purses already. Dang it, why am I a purse guy now?
I don't know.
How did this one become the thing?
So that's a question for you. But yeah, everybody, next up, we're gonna play some video games.
Yes.
We're gonna goof off. And we've gotten pretty good at this. So that by the time the stream even changes, you don't even have to move. It is just gonna be game time coming up here soon. Kirk,
I think it's Overwatch. Let's do some Overwatch.
Yeah, we can do some
start
Overwatch.
There.
Yeah, and I guess just let me know when you're ready. Josh, do you have any movies that you watch or have watched many times but you never get sick of? That's the question of the day.
By the way, Josh, thanks for swinging by. Appreciate you. Knives Out is the best.
Star Wars?
Ooh, Star Wars is
all right,
good.
Favorite Star Wars movie? I'm guessing original trilogy. Mine's probably Empire. I think that has to be my favorite.
I almost want to pick another one just because everyone picks that one.
It's because it's the best one.
It is a good one. The thing is, I really like that one too. Like, I think that I would pick that one.
Yeah, no, it's just a good movie.
Because that's the one that's got like Boba Fett and Jabba the Hutt and all that, right?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot more of that in the third one too. Because like basically that's the one where they like get Han.
Yeah, exactly. And you got Cloud City and you got Lando. It's a good one.
It's a really good one.
I do like the last one too. The first one's probably my least favorite, almost of any of the movies, including the new ones. Maybe it's because I saw it too many times. Like you mentioned, I've seen it so many times, like trying to start the trilogy, and also for the longest time, I had that VHS and I didn't ever have the other ones. I just had that one, and I only watched that one, and I hadn't even seen the other ones. And then I watched the other ones. I'm like, these are so much better than the first.
Well, that's why you watched it 4,000 times with no context.
That's exactly what happened, pretty much.
Kung Pao,
dude. We watched that one in the Squish Fam group not that long ago, and that thing freaking holds water. That thing is good. That's such a
the only scene that's terrible was terrible when it first came out. It's the cow scene.
The cow, that's so stupid. That's the only scene that's just bad. It's like, man. And the stupid Tungy. Tungy was the worst.
I know, but Tungy is perfectly stupid. The cow scene was too stupid.
Oh, yeah. Tungy is not the best.
Tungy's pretty awesome.
Is the worst.
No, that movie is amazing.
It is a good movie. All right, I am in gaming chat on the Discord, and I am closing some of this other stuff. Let me get BattleNet up with Overwatch. Actually, I don't even need to do this yet. I just need to get Streamlabs together.
Yep. All right, let me throw up our end screen. Thanks so much for hanging out for the podcast recording. Hope everybody sticks around
Yes.
because it's game time. It is game time next, and it's gonna be fun. We're looking forward to it.